Taiwo Kenyemi, and I'm the Learning and Community Manager with UNDP's Accelerator Lab Network. And we're here to talk about designing fit-for-purpose finance solutions. But first, indulge me for just a moment and tap into your imagination. Imagine a world in which development, which is really just trying to tackle the most wicked of wicked problems, things like extreme poverty, gender inequality, climate change, and financial exclusion, are driven by a deep sense of curiosity and a desire to learn from the people and communities most affected by these difficult challenges. Imagine also a network of locally based problem solvers, people like ethnographers, design thinkers, researchers, and entrepreneurs who are actively focused on tackling these problems at the level of the community to shift systems and improve people's lives. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, that's what the Accelerator Lab network, powered by 91 labs in 115 countries, is aiming to do. And in fact, in June, labbers from 23 of those countries met in Nairobi for 3 days to determine what research questions we need to answer to figure out how to put more money into the pockets of rural men and women in poor countries. You can check out the full R&D agenda if you're interested in the session resources, along with more information about the network. But right now, it's time to shift from a state of imagination to one of reality, where we're going to talk about how to design financial products and services with customers front and center. You're going to meet two amazing labbers who will share their experiences doing that. First up, we have Anna Ojong from our lab in Cameroon, who's going to share how she partnered with labs in South Sudan and Zambia to deep dive into mobile wallet usage patterns across all three countries. Then we're going to hear from Karen Allen from the Trinidad and Tobago Lab about how they're identifying alternative data sources for credit scoring. Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Tayo. Good afternoon to colleagues listening to me. Thank you for this opportunity you have given for us to share our learnings and insights on digital mobile wallets and how this connects to financial inclusion for Cameroon, Zambia, and South Sudan. I am Anna Ojong, the Head of Solutions Mapping for the United Nations Development Program in Cameroon. And I am here today to talk to you on an exciting journey on digital mobile wallets. Stay tuned and let us know what you think about our learnings and insights. Let me remind us that this is a multi-country team project which was triggered by the fact that we needed to understand how we can put more money in poor people's pockets. That was the key learning question for us. Imagine Imelda and her husband, who are cross-border traders in the Zambia and who owned this thriving grocery store. However, COVID hit and their business became threatened. What becomes of Imelda? While in Nairobi during our digital financial inclusion workshop, our team set out to understand the who, the why, and the what of financial inclusion and how digital mobile wallets impact on financial inclusion. Most especially, we set out to use citizen science to understand the impact that digital financial inclusion has on informal small businesses. Three key insights emerged from our study as we work to understand usage of digital mobile wallets. First, we had the importance of infrastructure. In Zambia, for example, mobile phone penetration had reached 104% by December 2021, which was different from the case in Cameroon, which had 90%, and South Sudan at about 23.5%, affecting the level of financial inclusion across these three countries. We equally realized that there was a direct correlation between a person's employment and educational status and their ability to use digital mobile wallets. More so, informal small businesses were prone to making use of digital mobile wallets than other sectors. Digital mobile wallets are equally affected by a person's access to digital technologies and skills, which was the case with women and girls particularly in rural areas, preventing them from being able to make use of digital mobile wallets. However, digital mobile wallets have remained relevant as we dig dive into some of our specific country examples. Digital mobile wallets have proven their relevance in difficult contexts, as during the COVID, the UNDP Cameroon office leveraged digital mobile wallets to support SMEs who had been hit hard by COVID. In the Zambia, we equally see the relevance of digital mobile wallets, where savings become almost a nightmare for female cross-border traders. However, thanks to a village savers app initiated by a Zambian startup, women are able to save and bounce back on their businesses. In South Sudan, which is very interesting, we have the sanduk, a traditional metallic box that was used for savings. Amazingly, digital mobile wallet solutions come to address the issue of high interest rates from about 30% to 20 and 15 to 20%. What does this tell us? We see some quite emerging trends as digital mobile wallets continue to emerge. We see the emergence of wallets within the financial systems where banks are integrating the wallet system to enhance their user experience. We see new actors like telecom operators coming into the financial space and new partnerships, unusual partnerships between banks and financial and telecoms operators, which before wouldn't have been the case. More so, we find development agencies like UNDP making use of financial digital mobile wallets, to access populations in hard to reach communities. However, we still have much to do in terms of digital mobile wallets. There exist gaps which we need to address. Digital literacy is a big problem affecting usage and thus affecting financial inclusion for women and girls, particularly in the rural areas. There still remains the issue of the rural digital divide, which cannot be ignored. Therefore, those in the rural areas have the tendency to lag behind when we talk about financial inclusion interventions. Policy gaps. Policy gaps, we have seen the importance of policies in cases like Zambia, where friendly policies have made it such that competitive mobile phone companies and digital mobile wallet competitors are emerging. And so we have more access to wallets and financial inclusion is improved because of the context and the policy context around which these companies are emerging. So after all of this, we would say that financial inclusion cannot be limited to the availability of financial services and products. We cannot talk about financial inclusion without financial education. We need financial education to be able to ensure inclusive finance. We also need very favorable environmental policies, policies that are actionable, policies that take into consideration the needs of the consumers and that take into consideration the complexities of our environment, and that can equally build competitiveness around these emerging actors. My dear listeners, digital mobile wallets are just one in so many digital solutions that have emerged in our world today thanks to the complexities of the challenges that we are facing. What does this tell us? Mobile wallets have come to stay, digital solutions have come to stay, and so we need to match our actions as to these complexities that we are facing in the world today. Why not put up friendly policies, friendly digital policies that can favor the integration of these spaces? Mind you, we cannot power a digital economy without power, without electricity, without internet, and of course without the basic infrastructure. Thank you, and we look forward to listening or hearing from you. Over to you, Tayo.
Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing your work and your story. It's particularly interesting because although mobile money or Momo is prevalent in many parts of Africa, mostly in East Africa, it's maybe a bit less prevalent in other parts of the continent. So it's really instructed to understand how gaps in infrastructure and maybe enabling factors like financial and digital literacy can prevent the access to mobile wallets. And addressing these gaps are really critical because mobile wallets serve as a sort of bridge between underserved populations and financial institutions. Karen, over to you to tell us about alternative data sources for credit scoring.
Thank you for that introduction, Tayo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Allen, and I'm the Head of Exploration at the UNDP Trinidad and Tobago Accelerator Labs. And today I'd like to talk to you about how to identify culturally appropriate alternative data sources. So welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. It's a vibrant twin island republic with a population of 1.4 million people located just off the eastern coast of Venezuela. It's a high-income country with a well-developed energy and financial services sector. However, given all this, we still suffer from inequality, which leads to financial exclusion. So survey data from the TTIFC states that up to 25% of the population remains financially excluded. One interesting highlight from this survey states that there has been a 6% increase from 2017 to 2023 of financial exclusion. So we asked ourselves, why? So three things stood out to us. One, there's a lack of trust in financial institutions, leading to citizens to hold on to more cash. Two, a lack of financial records for the most vulnerable of the population. And three, traditional approaches to assessing credit risk. However, given all this, there remain some people that are disproportionately excluded, like Hildred. So, a former sanitation worker, Hildred is in her 70s and she's never owned a bank account. She has participated in a SUSU, an informal rotating and savings credit association. However, given this reality, she has no credit or financial history. Or Rupchan. Rupchan is a small-scale farmer who provides for his family year after year. And like Hildred, he has no financial history. He's an avid churchgoer, he pays his tithes, and he takes place in community fundraising initiatives. Rupchan uses his social capital to raise financial capital. So in 2023, the labs partnered with the United Nations Capital Development Fund to host a FinTech Sprint, where we invited developers to create digital solutions for financial inclusion. The lab served as technical advisor, conducted stakeholder engagement, and also sat on the selection panel for the winners. One of these winners, OnQ, they offer an e-commerce platform that connects small-scale farmers like Rupchan to buyers both locally and regionally. It is a solution with cross-border functionality, and it offers Rupchan a digital footprint and a financial history. Alongside OnQ, we have Paymaster. This is a solution that digitizes credit unions with emphasis on the KYC onboarding process. Credit unions being important because they are culturally relevant to Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. And more importantly, if we simplify the KYC onboarding process, we'll allow people to be onboarded more quickly, enhancing financial inclusion. And lastly, we cast the net out to the Eastern Caribbean, where we have MLAJAN, which facilitates digital payments. It's a digital wallet system that allows users to manage payments, conduct transfers, and other financial operations. They also focus on the UI and UX, which is catered to our Caribbean customers' needs. But even with all these three very promising solutions, we recognize that as a lab, if financial services continue to take traditional approaches to assessing credit risk, financial exclusion will continue to grow. One way we think that we could bridge that gap is using alternative sources of data. This led us to three learning questions. One, what alternative sources of data work in a Trinidad and Tobago and a Caribbean context? Two, what is the readiness of financial institutions to adopt alternative sources of data for credit risk? And three, what is the ease of collection of this type of alternative data? So we looked at, is it the unrecognized skills that go in the informal sector? Is it unconventional assets, like maybe owning your bike or fruit or your fruit trees? Or is it the intangible assets, like specialized knowledge that can be monetized? All of these things we consider in terms of how we use alternative data. So to gain more insights, we have deployed two survey mechanisms. One of these mechanisms focuses on financial sector, where we look at the readiness and the appetite of the financial sector to adopt alternative data. And we also look at the willingness of citizens to share alternative data with financial institutions. We decided that collaboration is the best way forward. So we work with NGOs and CSOs to collect ground truth data, since they are the closest and most adjacent to the most vulnerable populations. This allows us to refine our personas, generate new insights, and propose consumer-centric solutions. One interesting thing is that Trinidad and Tobago has a mobile phone penetration rate of 80%, right? Metadata from a cell phone can be used as an alternative data source. For example, your prepaid phone history. The ability to conduct banking on your mobile phone opens up a lot of doors for financial inclusions. Early in our investigation, we found a grassroots solutions to digitizing the SUSU. This has been done in other countries such as Pakistan, Ethiopia, Brazil. However, this innovation was met with barriers because you needed to transfer the payment to a bank account. Basically, the end-to-end consumer journey was not taken into consideration. We have also explored global solutions where we interacted with a private sector player that uses AI and behavioral psychology to assess creditworthiness. This solution, while innovative, we asked ourselves, can this work in Trinidad and Tobago? So while behavioral insights can improve financial inclusion and assess creditworthiness, they could also lead to exclusion, because some individuals may be labeled as less creditworthy due to AI bias. Cultural differences impact the interpretation of behaviors. In one society, your presence on social media can be seen as positive, while in other societies, it can be seen as a negative. So once we've collected the survey data and we've analyzed this data, we will test alternative data for credit scoring with a cohort of the most vulnerable in the population. This will help ensure that Trinidad and Tobago has a smooth transition to a cashless society where the excluded are included. So as we design for consumers like Hildred and Rupchan, exploring how digital labs, alternative data, and behavioral insights can improve financial futures in the wider Caribbean, we believe that this approach makes the invisible visible, reduces bias, and promotes economic development. So through rapid iteration, citizen science, and collective intelligence, we hope that we can propose a culturally appropriate alternative data source to address financial inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing this very critical work. It's useful to note that even when you have digital solutions like e-commerce platforms that connect farmers to buyers and create a transaction history, or digitize the back-end functions of culturally embedded institutions like credit unions, it's really still very important to move beyond traditional methods for assessing creditworthiness. So as we wrap up this session, I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Karen, and Anna for tuning into this Financial Inclusion Week discussion on designing for the consumer. And we'd like to leave you with a couple of high-level takeaways. First, and perhaps obviously, mobile wallets are still a very powerful way to facilitate money movement, payments, and other transactions. But it's important to appreciate how consumer-centric approaches can contribute to understanding the barriers that prevent the use of wallets and engaging in financial transactions. And finally, digitizing traditional financial mechanisms, collective savings groups like Sanduks and Isusu, is a very strong platform from which to understand how consumers behave and also how to build context-appropriate financial solutions. Obviously, we've told our stories and we'd love to hear yours. So in the spirit of collective problem solving, please feel free to reach out to us. Check out the session description for all the ways you can get in touch. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.